My new video is a gameplay I had in the Jagdpanther. In this video I like to show you how I use my tips on how I recommend to play this vehicle. Let's start as always and ask the initial question, what is my BPM? For those who have never heard of this, I will link a video in the upper right corner and description. The initial spawn cost of my Jagdpanther tell me that this match is at the BR 6.3, so almost a full down tier. This means I can play a bit more aggressively but still have to be aware of some specific enemies. Nevertheless, since the Jagdpanther is a case-made tank, I want to start from the second row. This is the purpose of my tank. M stands for map tactic and the map we got is 38th parallel with battle. This is why I moved to a hull down position close to our capture point. The Jagdpanther has a strong upper front plate due to the sloped angle, but you have to maximize the armor by going hull down and use as much gun depression as possible. So whenever you search for a first key position around the capture points, keep this in mind. You also want to hide your lower front plate. Most of the guns can penetrate it and destroy your transmission. When this happens you will be stuck in place, and in the worst case unable to defend yourself. My team is already on their way to the hostile capture point. The good thing about the game mode battle is that the enemy has to come to you. This is why I don't rush to the hostile capture point and first see how the match will evolve. You always want to have a look at this position around that capture point. In almost every match there will appear enemies on that small road that leads around the hill, and from my position I can perfectly shoot on their side armor. The enemy has to focus on my teammates that are in front of them. A quick look on the minimap shows me that my team is in control over that little road I mentioned earlier, and this is why I want to catch up with the team. But I don't want to overpush since it is still early in the match. I just move a little further towards the hostile capture point and stay around a position where I can back up and go hull down. When you play the Jagdpanther you want to bring the gun to the battle. It is really strong. The Jagdpanther has a horrible reverse speed, but since I started the match from the second row and still keep some distance to the enemy, the hostile team has a hard time to damage my tank. I back up while reloading and use the terrain to maximize my armor. Doing so I am able to bounce an American 76mm gun. When you play the Jagdpanther you need to know your enemies. Then you can pick your fights in down tiers or matches that are close to it and stay in the open for longer. The next enemy I face is a Russian tank. I don't want to give the enemy the chance to destroy my transmission, and this is why I back up again. The fast fire rate of the enemy tells me that it is at least not an IS-2 and most likely an IS-1. Knowing this I can play a bit more aggressively since the 85mm struggles to penetrate my upper front plate. As you can see, keeping some distance to the enemy and using a hull down position helps to bounce a lot of shots in the Jagdpanther. When you play this vehicle you have the advantage of the more powerful gun in down tiers, and on the long run you will be able to destroy the enemy. Again I checked the minimap and can see that my team has built up a proper front line, and it is already later in the match. This means it is time for me to move to my next key position. Doing so I want to keep in mind that the Jagdpanther is a case-made tank. This means I can't turn my turret towards the enemy, and my side armor is really squishy. So I have to find a second key position where I narrow down the possible angle of attacks and give flankers no chance. On my way there I make sure to have an eye on critical line of fires of the enemy and rather make a detour. From this position I can oversee the road that leads from the spawn point of the enemy towards their capture point. In addition there is almost no chance for an enemy tank to get on my right side. The terrain in front of me helps to maximize the armor of my upper front plate. It is not the best hull down position, but better than nothing, and since it is close to a down tier, and already later in the match I can play the Jagdpanther more aggressively. In the next situation I want to show you some map awareness. On the minimap I can see that the front line of my team isn't that strong anymore. And beside two tanks we only have two anti-airs. This means I have to help. To get there I back up pointing my front armor towards the position I had an eye on, but also check what is happening to my left side. Again, I want to narrow down the angle of possible attacks on my side armor, before I turn towards the position where my team struggles at the moment. I support my team and help them to regroup again. After that I move back to my former position, and of course find another enemy trying to flank my position. The T-34-57 has a strong gun and can be a threat for my lower front plate, but overall it is rather squishy, and I know that I can push this enemy. In the late phase of the match I can even move right towards the front line, and use my armor to shield my team that is capturing the point. In this game mode I only have to have an eye on two positions from which the enemy can appear, and the mobility and fast reload of the Jagdpanther give me the chance to do so. In the end we won the match. I got 10 kills without getting destroyed and had a great match. I hope I was able to show you how my tips work and you liked the video. Like, subscribe and leave a comment if you want to, and check out my Discord server for more information and to connect with other players. Hope to see you in game soon.